Hello everybody and welcome to this tutorial on how to paint this cute little raccoon baby. First of all, you're going to need some colours. We've got this purple, this turquoise here. We're also going to need the smallest amount of this brown for his eyes and some black. You're going to need two kinds of paintbrushes, a bigger and a smaller one, some fine liner pens here. I'm going to be using a fountain pen as well. This is just personal preference of mine. You're also going to need a white pen like this one and some white ink. So this is the Winsor & Newton opaque white ink. Here we have the outline that I've pre-prepared. It's going to be a little bit difficult to see the outline on some of the later shots, but just know that that's what I'm following when I'm painting. This is an optional step. I like to mask the edges of the paper. That just gives it a nice outline at the end. So first of all, we're going to go in with our first layer of colours, and I'm preparing the colour here. So you can see I'm adding lots of clean water into the palette and mixing in the colour, and this just means that I'm going to have plenty of colour ready for when I need it. You can see how much water I've got in here. And then you just start painting. It doesn't really matter which colour you start with or where you put it. You don't have to stay within the lines at all either. You can see I'm going well out with the lines of the raccoon ear here. You can see on my original how all the colours are going everywhere. The only thing I'll recommend at this point is to try and not get any paint on where his white eyebrows are. It doesn't matter too much. If you do, you can fix it later. It's just making it easy for yourself. And you can see I'm just adding some colours in. You know, you can add them in wherever it is that you like. You can get a darker, more intense colour just by adding more pigment in, or if you add some water in, that'll sort of dilute it down. Next, you have to wait for this stage to dry. You can either just wait for it to dry naturally, or you can use a hairdryer like you can see I'm doing here. The only problem with the hairdryer, you can see it's moving the pigment around. Now, that doesn't matter too much for what we're doing here, but if you have some detailed work, you don't want to use the hairdryer because that'll move the pigment. Pause the video here to see what you're doing. Now, a quick tip, if you're not sure if your painting is dry, touch the back of your hand to it, and if it's cold, it's still wet. So you can see on our reference picture some of the colours are much darker, so that's what we're going to be doing in the next stage, is just adding another layer on. So basically wherever I've got purple or blue, I'm going to add more pigment to it. You can see I started off being quite neat just here, but then I remembered you can add more pigment wherever it is that you like, because when we go in with the pen, that's really going to define the outline of it. Again, try not to get any paint on his white eyebrows. This is where I accidentally made him look like a demon. I kind of fix it later on, but just add some more colours here and there wherever it is that you like, and just darken up and sort of highlight some of the areas. Don't forget to add some extra pigment to the shadows underneath him as well. We're also at this point going to add the brown to his eyes. It doesn't really matter how accurate you are, as you're going to have lots of black around it too. And I'm just adding a little bit of really diluted black to his nose to make it grey. This is what we're working with, so you can pause the video here to see what it is that you've got going on. Next, we're going to add the black details. So you're going to want to use your thinner brush to use the black details, and you're just going in and adding the black sort of around his raccoon mask and also into areas where there will be shadow. You want to try and be quite accurate with it at this point. Now, top tip, if you want to not have a harsh line, add in the original colour and that'll diffuse the black in. So you can see there I'm adding purple into it, and as you add the black, that'll just diffuse nicely into it, and it means you won't have a harsh black line. So you're just adding the black in at this point wherever there are shadows. You can add a really diluted black like you can see I'm doing here, and that just gives like a slightly less harsh shadow. And again, don't forget to add these shadows in underneath them as well. Now Now this is a fun step. We're going to add the splatters, so load your paintbrush up and then just tap the paintbrush over your finger. If you want larger sizes, just add water to the paintbrush. I'm doing both colours here. Now this is what it looks like. Pause to see a reference. Next it's time for the pen, so I'm going to use my fine liner here, and all we're doing at this point is just really lightly going over the outline of the raccoon. This is quite important, especially if when you've added your dark colours you can't exactly see where your lines are anymore, so you're just going to really gently go over those lines, and that's going to make it a lot easier for the next stage of the pen. Next you're going to go in with a thicker pen and just add in some guidelines. It really helps the illusion of the raccoon if you can get the fur to sort of mimic how it would look normally. So you can see sort of around the eyes and down the sides, I'm following where the fur would naturally be falling. You want to make him nice and fluffy, so after doing a first pass with the pen, just go in and really thicken up all of those fur lines. Pause the video here to see what you're working towards. Now watercolour always dries a lighter colour, so all I'm doing at this point is just going over my black areas to really darken them up, because you want a really intense black colour, especially around his mask. Now if yours is already really dark at this point, you can just skip this step. Pause the video here so you can have a reference to what you're working towards. Next we're going to add in our pupil. I always say to start off small and then make it bigger as you need. Now we're going in with our white pen. Don't do what I do here and go straight in for your painting, because you can see the ink comes out much too thick. So you just clean off the tip of your pen, and if it's still wet you can just dab that ink off of it. So what you should do is get a scrap piece of paper and test to see how thick the lines are before you actually put it onto your final painting. Now all you're doing is just going around and adding a couple of highlights to your raccoon. You can also define his mask if you've accidentally added too much paint onto where his white eyebrows are going to be. And you just go around and add in some white wherever you like. This is really useful, especially around the really dark areas around the legs. That just defines it a little bit more. Now you can put this white wherever it is that you like. Don't forget to add in the white stripes on his tail though. Now once this is dried you can go over it again, but we're going to be adding in his white details around his eyes. So on both eyes just put a little line on the top and the bottom. This is going to look a little weird because the lines are going to be too thick, but we're going to fix that in a second. You're also going to add in the little reflection on the eye as well, and this really helps make him really cute. Now for the whiskers. If you take no other tip from this tutorial, the tip will be to move your paper around. A lot of people, especially when they're starting, want to keep the paper directly in front of them, facing forward, but this stage will be much easier and you'll have much better results if you turn your paper as you're doing it. Once it's dry again, you can just go back over any bits that you need to. If your white ink looks perfectly okay before doing this, then you can just omit this step. Now we are almost done. This is the final stage, so this is where that white ink comes in. Dip a white paintbrush into the ink, add a little bit of water to it, and then do the same as you did with the other splatters and just tap the paintbrush over your finger. If nothing comes off, just dip your paintbrush in the water and just add a little bit more to the ink that you've got, and just tap away. If you want some bigger splatters, just add water to the tip of the paintbrush. And there you have your finished raccoons. You can see, even though I followed the same instructions for both of them, they've both come out just slightly different, but I think they both still look really cute. For a little bit of an added bonus for you, I actually taught this raccoon in person to a couple of people, and you can see here that we're following along to all the same instructions, and each step we're going through them, and again they've come out really different but super cute at the end as well. I love seeing such a big variety of little raccoon faces. I hope you try this one for yourself. Thank you for watching!